Okay. So, lots going on today. Like every day in crypto, we've got a lot to cover. We're in the middle of two videos, one for crypto news and then one for tokens that are doing well, some coins that you might be interested in investing in. So first of all, we'll start with the news. We're going to talk about some police that are stealing news site owners' Bitcoin. So they raided the CEO's house, office, stole his laptops, his hard drives, and transferred Bitcoins over to their computers, to their wallets. We'll see where that was and why. Also, we're going to talk about North Korea and what they're blaming North Korea for now. In cryptocurrency, North Korea seems to be the go-to country for blaming. And there's multiple reasons for that. But also, we're going to talk about net neutrality and see if it affects cryptocurrencies. My friend asked me the other day if this net neutrality vote was going to affect cryptocurrencies in any way, and I guess we'll have to see what net neutrality is so we can find out. We're also going to look at some Bitcoin price charts and analysis to see where it may be going and things like that. We also have someone that is putting half of their portfolio in Bitcoin, and we'll show you who that is upcoming in this video. So stay tuned.
Just go take a break, go get a drink, just on it. What to do? The water's clear on the other side. Do you believe her when she cries? I'm talking bodies, you're talking eyes, and there isn't a reason you can't get by. I'll be here when it gets too much, lying in bed and our fingers touch. It's just something meant for us. The rest can't guess, but it's all pure love.
Okay, so Trump's FCC votes to repeal net neutrality. What does this mean? Well, this video does a pretty good job of explaining it. So we'll watch this one first, and then a more cryptocurrency related version of this.
Created equal in the eyes of the internet provider. That's the basic tenet behind net neutrality. Created equal. Think of it this way. All content is created equal in the eyes of the internet provider. That's the basic tenet behind net neutrality. So if the internet is neutral, then the internet providers are treated basically like public utilities. Comcast or AT&T, they couldn't slow down or speed up certain content like Netflix or Hulu. But if net neutrality ends, some companies are going to be stuck in that slow lane, and customers might stop using sites that never seem to load. The rules that made the net neutral were put in place during the Obama administration.
This set of principles, the idea of net neutrality, has unleashed the power of the internet and given innovators the chance to thrive.
But now, things are going in a different direction. Ajit Pai is now the chairman of the FCC. He's a former lawyer for Verizon.
Entrepreneurs are constantly developing new technologies and services, but too often, they are unable to bring them to market for consumers because outdated rules or regulatory inertia stand in the way.
And this net neutrality, exactly what I think he's fighting for, is going to stand in the way of innovators. So, lawyers tend to do this. They tend to throw the guilt on someone else and, blame someone else for doing the exact same thing they're doing or they're trying to do, right?
To him, repealing net neutrality will lead to innovation, that it'll get the government out of, quote, micromanaging the internet. The internet providers will have more money, they'll then invest more in infrastructure. structure, and we'll have faster streaming. But while deregulation certainly has earned the praise of the communications industry, on the other side of the coin, you have tech companies and consumer advocacy groups.
We don't want our internet to start looking like our television cable. We don't want to have tiered access. We don't want to have all the things that have really stifled innovation in other industries.
For those
So innovation, technology innovation. Maybe this has something to do with the big cryptocurrency boom and rise, right? Getting them to pay more just to use the internet, and then these smaller companies and startups will not be able to afford what these big companies can afford, and then it gives more power to the bigger companies, less power to the little companies. Now, I haven't done much research on it, but that's what the kind of feeling I get with the research I have done. Here's another video that explains it a little bit better.
Disney buys Fox in an epic $52 billion deal as a vote on net neutrality looms. A cartoon mouse may have just killed the internet, ladies and gentlemen, so in this video, we're going to break down what all this means for the average internet user. I'd say no one saw this coming, but you can count on some predictive programming coming from The Simpsons, as they joked about this acquisition way back in 1998. The deal includes Fox's 39% stake in satellite broadcaster Sky and the 20th Century Fox film studios. Disney also gets Fox's owned Hulu streaming service and their movie and TV rights. Fox's remaining assets include Fox News and Fox Sports, and they're going to be forming a new company. So why now? Why in the midst of this looming vote on net neutrality are we seeing this acquisition? Could it be that they're getting their ducks in a line and preparing to change the face of the internet as we know it today? Net neutrality has been confusing for people. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Neutrality sounds good, right? They must be fighting for what we want, right? As it is now, the internet is a lot like a world full of flying cars, all buzzing around all over the place, free and independent of each other. What they want to do is put each vehicle on the ground, on a track, in individual lanes, with various toll booths along the way. That's not neutral. That's not a free and fair and open market. In fact, that's the opposite of what we actually want. You see, just like...
So there you go. This is on DTube, decentralized YouTube, created in partnership with some Steemit users. So, you can come here for lots of cryptocurrency news and things like that if you like. And we're going to be on here pretty soon. We're on Steemit. We're going to figure out how to get on DTube very soon here. Now we can move on looking at cryptocurrency market capitalizations. Bitcoin has dropped a little bit. If you can see the charts here, it kind of looks like we might be having our correction that we've been long awaiting. Ethereum's doing well. Bitcoin Cash is above 2,000. Wow. And I bought some Bitcoin Cash and I traded some Bitcoin into Bitcoin Cash just in case Bitcoin dropped. I knew that in the case Bitcoin drops, most likely Bitcoin Cash will thrive because, they are very relevant to each other. And when people move money out of Bitcoin, a lot of times it goes into Bitcoin Cash and vice versa. Litecoin still doing great, above 300. Monero as well, almost around 400. Dash staying above that $1,000 mark. I can't see it going down below 1,000 anytime soon, and if it does, probably around the 900s. Neo's at $75. It was at $80-something last night, I think. At least 78, I think, when we checked in. Or was it 68? 78, most likely. You can check that video, last video we did to find that. I'm not going to go too much into these prices. EOS doing well. Qtum doing amazing considering it was just at $12 when I bought it, you know, a month or two ago tops. Populous, you know, doing good, and Lisk is the other one that I wanted to mention. We've been saying Lisk is very undervalued, and it has lots of room to grow, being its own blockchain where you can create tokens on. So let's go into some more Bitcoin news research here. We have a little bit of a video. We'll just show the video rather than the article. So he, Bill Miller, hedge fund manager, put half of his money or half of his hedge fund into Bitcoin so that people can invest in his hedge fund, and his hedge fund is profiting off the rise in Bitcoin. It said he, you know, he beat S&P 500 companies 15 years in a row for making these types of decisions, right? He put his 1% of his portfolio in 2014. You know, probably regretted not putting more in, and now he's moved half of it in. You know, more confirmation, more legitimization. I'm just wondering if this is futures or he bought the real thing. The fund at one point had 20% AOL, 20% Dell, 10% Fannie Mae. I guess he's buying real Bitcoin because, you know, you can't have a hedge fund unless you're buying, you know, these products or these stocks. I don't think it would be futures. But also an interesting thing is he says most cryptocurrencies, other cryptocurrencies will be worthless. I think he's missing the point. I think, yes, a lot of them will be, but I think there's one or two or three out of there that are going to pop up and maybe, you know, be more prevalent than Bitcoin one day. Just bear with me 1 second. We got some interesting news on the way. Just had to refresh that browser. It's Brave browser's giving me a hard time lately. Maybe I just have too many tabs pinned. Things like that. It's a very new, fresh browser, so I'm not surprised. There are some bugs and kinks they're going to have to work out. But overall, it's a very good, solid browser, and any technology needs to be used to see where, you know, that some areas are that need to be worked on. But in the meantime, you can read some of this. So we did have the court case on net neutrality, and we might look into that a little bit more and how it relates to cryptocurrencies once we get more people, you know, talking about it. That's another video for another day. I just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware that this is going on. because a lot of these laws are passed and nobody even realizes they're happening. They might pass them when there's a huge news story, so nobody really notices the laws being passed under the table. They might kind of distract people. Who knows, they could have done it at an all-time Bitcoin high. Any story you hear on the news, you got to wonder, any news that's blown out of proportion and just talked about so much, when it's not really that huge. It might be big, but there's stuff like it that happens all the time and it's not talked about. When that happens, you got to wonder what is going on behind the scenes where they have to distract us with this story. That's how I look at it anyways. Or I try to, So, Bitcoin climbs as futures debut, fails to incite attack by shorts. But we also know that they're not really letting anybody do shorts yet. So, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know about the CME, I just know the OBOE futures were not letting people do shorts. And, it'll be interesting to see what happens when people start shorting or when they're allowed to short. That's something we're going to want to keep our eye open for because it's going to probably catch us off guard, right? So this article saying basically talking about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and how you can't hide from taxes anymore. Any American Bitcoin investors who were hoping to avoid paying taxes for their profits this year by trading them for altcoins are in for an unpleasant surprise. New regulations have been tailored specifically to make U.S. taxpayers can't use this method to avoid giving the IRS their cut. Of course. We've been talking about this for a long time. They're going to spend whatever they have to make sure that they get their cut of those billions of dollars being made in Bitcoin. And it's 25% of your revenue when you're investing, when you're putting your own money into your capital into Bitcoin and then making capital gains. So it's worth it to fight this. We just saw Trump pass
Eric, how important is this CME Bitcoin futures trade? I mean, more volume, more meat in those trades. It's going to...
Yeah, we just saw Trump sign off on a deal that helps, funds the military to look into blockchain. And these are the types of things they're going to be working on. Not trying to, make it a better, more fair place. They're trying to, make sure they get all their cuts. And how they're going to do that is anti-money laundering laws and know your customer laws. So anytime you see these laws and they give you a reason why, question that reason and that story. Like we do with this Korean story that we're going to mention here, where they're saying Korea's stealing our Bitcoins and we need to now track them because if we don't, we won't know when they're cashing out. Well, it doesn't matter anyways because we can't get to North Korea and do anything about it. And for two, and that's why they're using North Korea. And for two, if we can't track them now, how would they know it's North Korea stealing them? But yeah, that's what's going on. I'll put these articles down below in the description for after if you want to read more into them. Also, this article, Bloomberg Technology, talking about Bitcoin climbing as futures, the CME futures debut. People are not really allowed to short yet, I guess. right? And they're showing this chart. There's the CBOE launch. It went up, and then but see, it went down right before the launch. So they're saying it went up here. All it did was correct from the fear of this launch. And then here, we went down a little bit right before the launch, and again, then we, I guess, spiked up here. But this might be the difference between Bitcoin futures or Bitcoin futures up here prices and the actual price of Bitcoin. I'm not sure why there's a space in between there. Maybe it just jumps so strictly, so high that, so steeply that, you know, we don't even see a line. Futures have definitely opened up Bitcoin up to shorting opportunities, said John Butler, head of Wealth Services for Toronto-based Gold Money Inc., which offers Bitcoin and gold custodian and gold storage services. But shorting something with this much momentum would be brave. Yes, it definitely would. They would probably lose a lot of money if they tried to short this. As we've seen in the past, people that bet millions of dollars on it, you know, dropping in price, end up losing a lot of money. Not going to spend too much time on these, like I said. Trying to get them out of the way so we can do our token reviews. Here's some trading analysis on TradingView, just to show you what some, you know, experts are saying about the Bitcoin charts. So have some, you know, buy orders in here, and yeah, around 1800, I guess. I would be, yeah, selling. This is the top here. We can't get, you know, people don't want to pay much above 20,000, so this is going to be definitely a mental block, a mental barrier here. Once we pass through it and we've been above it for a little bit, it'll change our perspectives. But for now, I can see this being a hard point to get past. We might touch above 20,000 here and there a couple times before we actually get a breakout. Again, I'll put this in the link in the description if you want to look more into it. So wait for the support to break. If it breaks down here, then you know it's probably going to go lower. If it breaks up past, you know, this 20,000, or I guess above this, we know we're pretty safe. You know, if it goes above this, we're pretty safe up here until it goes back down below. Then we need to worry again, which we, you know, might have needed to worry a little bit here that it was going to keep going down, but we changed momentum. So a lot of times you have to wait before you really can predict. Wait for it to break above or below certain points before we know much further of what's going to happen. So he's not going to put any bearish targets until the support is broken. It will be interesting to see how this plays out. Please share your thoughts. Interesting, we broke the current raising wedge pattern. Let's see if Bitcoin is headed to break the support. And let's just look now, compare that to our current chart. And we have one more 2 more news stories. So very interesting stories. It's gonna be hard to do with this. I really should have done it in TradingView. But we can get the idea here. So, when they left off, it was 1959. And it has went down a little bit. So, not quite below the 18, or that 17,900 mark, but we're getting close. So North Korea is suspected of crypto exchange attacks, and now every time you're going to hear the story, you're going to hear suspected, presume, you know, words like that, because you always hear, you know, the news has been caught so many times lying for certain, you know, agendas to be passed, and, you know, governments paying them to say certain things. They're basically paid and bought out by the governments, a lot of them bailed out. And so we have to question, and they've learned to cover their ass and, you know, say things like suspected instead of saying for sure they're hacking us. So those are words to, you know, watch out for. So South Korea's chief intelligence agency suspects that North Korea hackers are behind attacks on the country's most trafficked Bitcoin exchange. I wonder what Bitcoin exchange they're talking about, because Bitconnect exchange got hacked about 2 years ago, and no news story, no news channel, major news channel like BBC covered it. Now they're covering it, I guess, because it has an you know, agenda behind covering it. That's my assumption. And you might have a different opinion, but I'm just sharing mine with you. So let's see if we can see BitThumb. So a BitThumb employee's home computer dating back to February amount to a kind of an espionage. Around 7.6 billion won worth of cryptocurrencies was stolen at the time. So South Korean exchange, they're blaming North Korea for hacking into it. Well, that has nothing really to do with us. I'm sure South Korea can figure that out themselves, but what they're going to be doing is telling us that we need to do more regulation and, you know, track, have know your customer and anti-money laundering laws, you know, so that we can pay more taxes, so that they can get their tax dollars. That's what I see from these types of stories. Run down by the Ukrainian security service. According to the owner of the Russian cryptocurrency news outlet, Forklog, Anatoly Kaplan, his media firm is being harassed by Ukrainian law enforcement officials. On December 15th, agents from Ukrainian security service searched both his apartment and the Forklog's offices for in Odessa for an alleged association with U.S. nationals committing crime activities. Ukrainian, the SSU is a law enforcement entity that specializes in terrorism investigations and counterintelligence activity. According to Mr. Kaplan, owner of the regional cryptocurrency news publication Forklog, agents revealed that they were looking for clues in connection with a group of Ukrainians and U.S. nationals committing financial fraud. The SSU explained to Forklog representatives that the suspects used Forklog to exchange Bitcoin for the national currency, whatever, Hryvnia, whatever it's called. But the thing is, these people don't have an exchange. They're just a news outlet. So Mr. Kaplan and the Russian media organization believe the search was unwarranted, as neither Forklog nor sites associated with the website have ever provided these types of services. Forklog doesn't even have the software that provides such a service, they tell news.bitcoin.com. So obviously, once you read the rest of this, you're going to find out, they were just after the money. They want the Bitcoin. The price rise is making governments, these greedy governments, people that are used to power, control, taking what they want from force and violence, now want to use those same tactics on a cryptocurrency that's supposed to be decentralized and unowned, right? So it's pretty sad, actually. During the search, the SSU agents confiscated his laptop and several cold storage devices. Moreover, one of the SSU agents tried to transfer some of Mr. Kaplan's Bitcoin funds to another address during the search. He only stopped because his lawyer called and threatened the agents with robbery charges. However, the officials still confiscated Mr. Kaplan's devices, and the very next day, a large sum of Ethereum was transferred from Mr. Kaplan's wallet to another address. And we will put the rest of this article in the link in the description. If you want to read more, I think this is just disgusting. It's sad. But these are the things that we need to prepare and be precautious for. So, if you have a cold storage device, maybe store it at your parents' house. Things like that, right? Always just be ready for anything. If you're using Bitcoin, that's a good start. But there are other ways they can get at that Bitcoin. Just because you store it offline doesn't mean it's completely safe. So just something to think about, especially if you're running a business. People know you have cryptocurrency and money. Then it's good probably to cover some of your assets because you're going to be a target. And we've seen this many times. And look, we got proof that governments are stealing Bitcoins. And I always had a weird feeling, when these exchanges got hacked, especially Bitconnect, that some sort of government was behind it. I had a feeling towards the U.S. government being behind it. I'm not saying they were, but that's just the feeling I got. They've been doing it for a long time, stealing money from different people, saying they're doing illegal things. Look how much money they stole from Ross Ulbricht, and hundreds of exchanges have had the same things happen, and money, Bitcoin stolen from them. So the only people that we've 100% proved is stealing Bitcoins is these other governments. Something to consider anyways. So with that being said, we'll see you on our next video. It will be a token review. Peace.
Just go take